people because we are rooted in the gospel. You feel me on that? So if any leaders I'm excited to lead with, it's you guys. You are it. We believe in you so much, and we want to make sure that you're encouraged, that you're cared for, and that you're resourced to continue to reach these youth with the gospel. And so the future is here, and you are leading them. They're the youth that are looking to you. They're the youth that are calling you freaked out. They're the youth that are coming up with all the conspiracy theories about why this is all happening. I was on the phone the other day with a young man, and he was talking to me about this. And I said, brother, there's been a divine conspiracy since the beginning, and it's Christ, and it goes deep, brother. Get rid of all the other noise. This is what it's about. There's no other time in recent history where evangelism could be so real and honest as right now, because our youth are like, what am I going to do? Right? I don't get it. Everything's changing. What's going on? And so you guys are that front line from that. And so we want to really help you do that. And so here are the 5 things that we as an organization are committed to doing. And so I want you to make sure from a high level, you understand our response to this pandemic and crisis. The first one is that we need to network now. And so we're committed to the creation of networks, both nationally and regionally, to help you build networks so that all the other youth workers that aren't on this call, that you're connected to, that aren't connected to us, have a community of people that will help them, encourage them, care for them, and resource them so they can continue to reach their youth. Next is we need to practice these things now. So we need the best practices from what you guys are coming up with, what others are coming up with, and we need to make sure that's collectively shared so that the amazing things that you guys are doing to reach your youth, that's getting out to other people as well. Number 3 is we need to speak now. And we need to have the conversation, brothers and sisters, about the future. And we need to begin and curate a conversation about how today's reality shapes the future of the church and the movement of urban leaders. We need to have those conversations right now, because this is going to change a lot of things for the future. And we need to have that conversation. Not only that, but we need to collaborate now. And so not only do we need to talk about it and create spaces to talk about it, we actually need to all collaborate together so that we can continue this movement forward. And so we need to have strategy, collaborate, and figure out what does this mean for the future and start moving in that direction. And number 5 is we need to create now. We at UYWI, we're pressing you guys to continue to lead in this time, even though it's tough. And we need to continue to lead. So we're going to continue to create the most authentic and impactful and relevant resources and coaching and training for you so that you are filled up so that you can go and continue to reach these youth. So those are our 5 commitments that we're saying, hey, in this time as an organization, we're going to lead in those areas. And so we're excited to just resource you and help lead with you in that. And so on the first part, as far as creating networks, that's a big job. And so I called my man, Sean Finner, who's from Long Beach. He's an executive pastor with Light and Life in Long Beach here in California. And he's going to be helping us create this national network. And so I'm gonna kick it to him, and he's going to share a little bit about what we're doing and what we're asking you guys to do.
And before we do that, Sean, just one moment. This is Sri again, Creative Director, Urban Youth Workers. I want to just give you guys instructions. We have a lot of people on, which is awesome. So if you have questions, use the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. We'll be taking questions later on. That is all. Also, if you can stay muted unless it's time for you to talk, that would be great. It will help the audio experience to be great for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in and be really quick. 3 initial things that we're asking in terms of national network is number 1, to support and engage. It's really important at this time. You know, just like first responders are responding to this virus in hospitals, we are the first responders for youth in the midst of this crisis. And so as they're isolated and dealing with the issues that they're dealing with, we've been in this, and we're going to be working with it with them as they're interacting with this ongoing. And so we want you to be supportive and engaged. We're creating a national Facebook group That link will be shared. We're going to need moderators, and we're going to need engagement as leaders reach out for support in the midst of this. And number two, as an initial thing, is we're going to create support groups for your region. We're going to create localized efforts to support leaders where they are and make sure they have encouragement, resources, and they're taken care of during this time. And UYWI is going to work to create kind of a how-to resource for this to make sure that you're being equipped as you're dealing with this ongoing on a really what's being a day-to-day process as things are just kind of shifting and changing for us. And then number three is we're just going to be sharing best practices and resources with each other. In unity, there's authority and power. And so we want you to help us, help you to help these youth. We want to platform and share what you and other leaders are doing to connect with them during this time and how you're engaging youth. And so, whether it's Vanessa or Kimmy or Jose or Bobby or different leaders in our area that are engaging youth in powerful ways, we want to help you guys do that on a national platform and a regional platform. A lot of information is going to be coming out, not all of it helpful. And so we want to make sure that some of these urban experts really, these first responders, just like urban allies, donate to UYWI. We're the ones that make ministry happen in the hood. And so it's important for us to be sharing that information with each other so that we're equipped and we're ready as things change. So just three quick things that we're initially asking from you so that we can build that national and those regional networks.
Awesome. Very good. Well, we're going to move on to the next part of our call, and we have a special guest, Bobby Lopez, who has been killing it 3 weeks prior to this virus in engaging his youth. So he's going to speak about some of the best practices he's found using virtual tools to engage his youth. Welcome, Bobby Lopez.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Listen, so my name is Bobby Lopez. I'm the executive director at Passion LA. And yeah, we were a bit ahead of the curve when it came to this whole, I guess, online Instagram communication. And the only reason we were really because we had already thought that this is the space we had to go into. We knew that we wanted to reach more kids. We knew we wanted to have a deeper impact. So we were kind of already thinking about moving into that way. And so what this did is just speeded up the process, and we were less resistant than everybody else to the change, because we had already been thinking about going that way. So yeah, so the first thing, just to jump right into it, the first thing that we sat down and we thought was like, what was our purpose? We had to know our purpose. What were we trying to accomplish, and what was the outputs that we wanted to get? In other words, we always had meetings, and so we're so used to meetings as a church that sometimes we think we just have to have another meeting. But the biggest thing we thought was, well, what was the purpose behind the meetings? So we were thinking, how do we go online and fulfill those purposes, because we're no longer allowed to do the meetings? So the purposes we came out with were, we had 4 outcomes. And then from those outcomes, we decided we wanted to figure out, how do we know that we're actually fulfilling those outcomes? So we had measurements. And so we defined our outcomes, we defined our measurements. So one of our outcomes is like, we want to make sure that the kids feel connected, right? So we made sure that we checked our profile visits. And so we knew when the kids were looking at our profile visit that they had not only clicked on the post, but they had gone beyond that they wanted to see what else we were doing. And when you switch your page to a creator page on Instagram, that allows you to check your analytics more than anything else. You could check your reach, you could check your profile visits, you could check your engagements. All those are way better to gauge yourself. The normal user will gauge himself according to their likes. And that's a really poor way, because some kids do not like for anything and some kids like for everything. It does not mean they're actually reading what you're saying or connecting with what you're doing. So, we make sure that we knew our purpose and our measurements and our outcomes. The second thing that we did was we made sure that we connected our post to our purpose. So a lot of times we're just posting, and we're hoping that it hits. But we wanted to make sure that ultimately we were fulfilling our purpose. And one of the ways we thought about how we could do that was everything we did had to be focused. Now you have to understand, we have this saying called look for every opportunity and every obstacle. So for us, we were looking for the opportunity. What we felt was we could expand the sermon from being a 30-minute segment to a whole week conversation. And so this one meeting was now expanded. We had a greater opportunity to influence the kids in their home. So we created a theme for the month, and we focused everything on that theme. And then we created weekly points, and the whole week is about that one point. And so we made sure it was focused. We made sure that they were digestible. Kids nowadays do not have the ability to focus. I'm sure you all know that if you've worked with kids long enough. And I think they're having new stats out and everything, but we realized that we had to have posts that were digestible for the kids. If we put long videos out, they were not going to sit there, or they weren't going to be able to retain all that information. So we've spread it out during the week, and we put the post small little bites throughout the week to basically hit one point really hard in different directions. And then we made sure that they were impactful. Like, what was the best way to do it? So 'cause sometimes there's so many things you can post. You can post a meme, you can post a video, you can post an interview, you can post a conversation. I mean, you could do a story, you could do a challenge. All these are different ways to teach the lesson that you're trying to teach, or to impact these kids' lives. And we're just using whatever. Once we've come up with what we want to do, we have to decide what's the best medium in order to fulfill that. So that's what we did. And one of the best ones we did was we put a picture. We knew we wanted to connect with our kids. We put a picture of one of our leaders and at a time in their life that was really hard. And we wrote a quick story. We didn't get too much because they won't read that much. A quick story about their life and how that related to our overall lesson. And we had a massive amount of kids that were just connecting to that. And actually, now people were messaging her and talking to her a lot. And so she was able to counsel them through things. It was really a great opportunity. And so, yeah, the number 3 thing we did was we made sure that we connected our platform to our purpose. You don't want to fight Instagram. You don't want to try to do something on Instagram that it's not built for. Instagram pays a lot of money. TikTok pays a lot of money to make sure that you're using their platform for a certain reason. You don't want to try to do a sermon in an area that doesn't fit, like on TikTok. So we looked at the platforms and we said, okay, what's the best one for fulfilling this? We looked at TikTok. Everybody's talking TikTok. And what we realized something with TikTok was it's not a community building one yet. It's not built for community yet. What it really is small bites of information that can support our main community building effort, which is Instagram. And so we used it as a support method. Instagram post, we realized that when we wanted information that the kids can keep for a long term of time, or maybe it was a little bigger for them to gulp, rather than just something that was real quick and hit, we used Instagram post. And the reason that was, this is the greatest thing I feel like for myself. You got kids that are struggling with suicide, depression, all these issues. Normally we have a half hour, maybe 30 minutes to speak to them on Wednesday nights, or whatever your night is, or whatever your lesson is. You now can hit them at the point of their biggest pain, in the place where they're hurting the most. That 2 o'clock in the morning, when that kid's waking up because his parents are fighting, your post will be there to be able to minister to them and impact them. So it's actually a great opportunity. So we put our main chunk of stuff on our Instagram post. Our Instagram stories are the key to interaction. I'm telling you this right now. The biggest interaction we have is on our Instagram stories. We're asking kids questions. We're giving them challenges. We're going on Instagram Live and playing games with them, sending them gift cards through Amazon. And then we're just gathering them there and just communicating with them. We're putting polls up. We're just asking a lot of questions, and then we're responding to their questions right away, or are just making sure that they know that that we're valuing them at that moment. Instagram TV was something that we kind of steered away from. We have, if your kid's a little bit more connected, Instagram TV has a bigger chunk of information. You could do 2 to 3 minutes on there, but I'm going to tell you this right now: kids are not. We talked to a couple of kids because we realized they know more than we do about them. And we realized that if it's over a minute, they usually don't want to listen. They're going to swipe to the next thing. But if you have kids that that's good information for a specific group of kids. So like we have a small group for girls. We put an Instagram TV post on there, and it's going to be enough for them. They're going to be able to sit there, and it's going to be about 2 to 3 minutes to be able to get them to soak up that information. Don't be afraid to use different pages. So we have a page just for our leadership, our student leaders, and we put that lesson throughout the week too. We have different pages for different groups and things like that. And connect your production to your purpose. In other words, when we were doing our shots, we thought, how do we make sure that the background and the way the camera is adjusted is trying to get them in that moment that we're trying to get them to. So when we want to have a conversation with a kid that's like a one-on-one conversation, we really pull the camera close and we let them know, like, hey, I'm talking to you. We did one where it's an advice line to kids, and it's a mom and dad advice line. And so we're talking back to them and giving them advice. And we made it look like we were doing just our regular daily stuff and talk to them. And the background matches what we're trying to do. You know, kids, when people are walking, we're just going on a walk with them, things like that. The biggest thing on that, I would tell you, with keeping your production connected to your purpose, is make sure your sound is clear. This is the biggest thing that we see on Instagram. You have a bunch of people who they'll post and their information is so good and it's so needed by these kids. But if they're not able to hear you, then it's not impacting them like you want them to. Make sure your sound is clear. Your phones, usually the iPhones are good enough if you're in a really good area, but you can order cameras on Amazon. Microphones on Amazon that are really good and really cheap. They go from like $20 to $500. You do pay what you get for, you do get what you pay for. So be aware of that. But you have like this really good opportunity. Make sure you don't waste it by posting something that is good, but just doesn't have the sound quality. That's really important. And make sure you're looking at it again after you post it or before you post it, because the biggest thing you don't want to do is it looks really good and you just post it real quick and then they don't get it, you know? And so also ask them. This is really big. This is something that really kind of changed the game for us, where we're actually thinking we might stick to this a lot longer whenever we find our new normal in this whole thing. We're asking the kids, hey, can you help us build the creativity? Can you help us design the post? What do you think of this? And actually we're giving them some of the content and they're creating the post for themselves. So one of the 30-second lessons that we're doing, next week, one of the kids is actually delivering it. He's going to set it up and then he's sending it to us. We're editing it and putting it online. And so we're asking them to get involved. It's building community, and it's also taking it off me as like being the main star and making it from them. And it's like a peer talking to a peer. They love that. They share those more than anything else. And so just that's probably like the biggest thing that we've been able to like really be happy through this whole event, to be able to see that sharing. Yeah, and don't forget, nothing beats personal connection. Texting, DMing, everything you can do to try to connect with them one-on-one. Usually, I know some of you have a super amount of kids, but you know, keep your leaders connecting with them, message them, and they can have that conversation throughout the day, just sending them, hey, encouragements and blessings. One of my kids told me, he told me that he said, your words throughout that season of my life got me to the next day. He never showed me that. He never ever once told me that his text. He never even replied to my text. But I knew that, but later on he told me that. It was so amazing. So we don't quit on that. We try not to be annoying, but we don't want to chase them down or make them feel like we're desperate, but we want them to feel our presence in this whole thing. So and remember, these kids feel like a problem, most of them, if they come from the urban community, they feel that way. So they're not gonna really open up at first. This is a new medium. I was calling kids at first. They don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like the truth is like they don't even know how to use a phone. They want to text. But we're actually pushing the calls, and we're pushing them as a group, as individuals, because that, I mean, it opens them a lot. And so we're doing things like that, Bible studies online. And more than anything, I just want to really tell you guys this is the biggest thing. Like, listen, be patient with yourself. This is a whole new, I would say, opportunity, and I'm aware of the situation, but I also want to look at the opportunity. This is a whole new opportunity. Nobody knows what they're doing. There is no science behind this. Just throw your best at it, figure it out, be willing to adapt, look at what you've done, take things that don't work and that don't work out and add new things in. Be patient, and be patient with them. They're learning a new habit of how to connect with you. And so you're training them through this connection on how to reconnect with you in a new way. Don't expect all the kids that showed up on your Wednesday to automatically jump on. People have different communications online than they do, face to face. Just be aware of that, and just please, more than anything, be patient.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Wow. I think I'd like to add to that, just as from a creative standpoint, just have a couple of different options to adjust. So for instance, today to do this Zoom call, I had already tested it before and knew that Facebook was glitchy. So I made sure I hooked up our YouTube so we could move people if we need to. In addition, the Q&A button is not working right now, so I'm going to move you to chat. So I think it's just being patient with the process, and even learning all these digital tools. For some of you, this may be the first time, and that's okay. But testing is key, and then being ready to pivot when you need to in communication. So yeah, so the last part of this is Q&A, guys. So if you look in the chat to your right, you can give your questions, and it looks like I have some questions coming up. And these can be questions for Bobby. It could be questions for anybody in the group, for Tommy, for Sean. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going to give about 1 minute for people to populate the question chat box, and then we'll continue. While we're waiting, I'd like to just give an announcement. We have a Facebook group, and we're going to go ahead and put that link in the chat. So it's a private Facebook group for urban youth workers, for leaders who are basically going to be our regional networks. We really want to make sure we're creating micro units across the country. So Sean Fenner is leading that up. We're going to put that Facebook group in the chat. Join that if you want to get even more connected on a smaller level to urban youth workers. Looks like we have some questions coming in. Awesome, awesome. All right, so I've got a question to Bobby Lopez and Tommy. Are you reaching students now that you've never reached before? Has this opened up an opportunity?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the most amazing thing. Because the kids are sharing our information with their friends, there's friends that are really, so we all know that, you know, church to some kids has a bad word in their mouth. They will never walk into the building, that's just how they are, but they will go online. So we're able to connect with kids who have never, ever were willing to walk into the building. And this is the awesome thing that we were discussing this morning. If you build a community online, and then when this thing is all changed and we go back to our meetings, that community will you'll have that kid more likely to show up. So yes, we are reaching kids. We are able to bring them. We see it all the time in YouTube, where you got a YouTube star who creates a community, and then he has an event and everybody shows up. So we're reaching more kids. On top of that, we're able to reach the kids that have kind of fallen away, because normally on a Wednesday night, I'm looking and I'm trying to run to all my kids and connect with them real quick. I now have a week to do that. So I can just message a kid who's probably not connected. I can look at my analytics, see where they're not at, and then just kind of message them and try to keep contact with them. So yes, I am reaching new kids. And on top of that, we're reaching kids that fell away.
Very good. All right, next question comes from Kai. How does FaceTime video chat play in to reaching youth?
Yeah, well, as far as I'm working on the youth, I would definitely say you just go ahead and use it, because if that's what you're using. But there's other things too. I mean, there is Zoom, there is you know, I guess FaceTime is one of them. Yeah. So it really does develop the connection. You know, when all these things started popping up and I started seeing some of you guys I haven't seen in a while, I felt like that connection again. You know, we automatically assume because it's on a phone that it's not going to have that same connection. No, it really does do very good. I don't know about reaching, but more in maintaining the relationship and developing the relationship.
Right. We have a question from Chris Schaffner. How are you all practicing self-care and community care during this time? And anybody can take this. You just have to unmute yourself.
I think, Chris, you know, number one is just making sure that we're still all taking that pause and that we're practicing Sabbath in the midst of it. I know it's hard in crisis and what feels like, you know, everything is urgent in the moment, to think like, oh, I don't need to Sabbath, or I can go 10 days straight, 12 days straight, 17 days straight. You're going to work better if you rest. And so, you know, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. I remember early on a mentor telling me, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of anyone else? And so I think it's really important, you know, that we're spending intentional time with God, that we're resting in ways that we rest. Don't put that on anyone else to make them feel like they have to rest the way you rest. You know, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, different personalities, we all rest in different ways. And then also, I think a big thing too is in the midst of like working at home, quarantining as rhythms change, making sure that you're getting outside. You know, spending time inside all day can be a really hard thing. So, you know, Bobby talked on our earlier call about just getting out and taking a walk. We've been doing that as a family, trying to spend some time where we go out and we just walk around the neighborhood. You know, we remind our neighbors like, hey, do you need anything? You know, and then with community care, I think using the resources that we have to reach out and ask people, hey, what do you need? You know, making sure that people aren't living out isolation. You know, text groups, phone calls, reminders on your phone to like check in with different people, especially right now. You know, a lot of our youth are cared for by elderly, whether it's a grandma, an auntie, an uncle, someone else, because mom and dad can't take. And so just checking in to see like, hey man, how can we help? Do you need groceries? What do you need? Can we help with shopping? Whatever it is, to help them. I think that's just an initial small thing that we can do.
Awesome. All right, I have another one from Damien, and anybody can take this. You just need to unmute yourself. Has anyone tried Marco Polo for your groups? Marco Polo for your groups. Anybody?
I think I can, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. I can speak on that. Our leadership teams at my church, we've utilized Marco Polo, and it's awesome because you can talk in real time and they can also just respond. So we use it more for our leaders, not so much the youth or, you know, whoever you're leading in your ministry. So I thought it was really great because many times every lead has a different function, right? Somebody is hitting on something different. But at times we're all available at different times, and even more now that we're inside and all of this, just it's changing day to day and hour to hour, right? And so it just gives the ability to like, hey, I'm working from home, or I got the kids, or, you know, we're all here, but I can speak into something very quickly. Everyone can chime in on real time. So it has a few different functions. I think what's great about it is that it has that face availability. So if you have that group of young kids that it's like they need that eyesight, then that is really helpful. If they're more of like wordy, then maybe not so much, like if they want to like read things. But if they just want to catch in on something, just like a little quick video, then that I think it's great. It worked really well.
Awesome. All right. Next question is from Jose Rodriguez. What's the best way to engage the whole community of students, like small groups? Like small groups, and anybody can chime in. If you're really noisy, go ahead and mute your. I can't. Y'all to take you all off of mute. So who would like to take this? Let's have you raise your hand in the panel over on the right. Who would like to take it? Do you know how to raise your hand? Otherwise, I have to read lips.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What is the best way you are able to create small groups amongst your youth? The whole community that feels like a small group right now. All right, let's try hands up. Does anybody want to take it? Okay, I see. There we go. We'll try that. All right, Marcia, go ahead.
I think we have to be really honest that it may depend on our technology and how much you want to spend on that, or how much is available to you. So this business about being patient, but also, what are your resources? I have a grad school that I'm involved with, and they could see 28 of us at the same time. Most of us don't have that capability, and we can't assume that other people do. So I'm still thinking about budget, but you know, what you've done today, you know, that's quite a few people. I don't know how many squares you can count. Anyway, I'm so encouraged by all of this. Thank you.
Very good. All right. We have another special guest, actually. Amy Williams, are you there? Let's find our girl. Where's my girl?
I'm right here.
Yeah, hold on. Raise your hand because I'm seeing a lot of people's. There she is. All right. It's like family or Brady Bunch up in here. All right. Tell us about the incarcerated population you're working with right now. What's happening with them? This is crazy.
Yeah, so it's been really tough. We know that, you know, locking up kids doesn't help. And when you're already dealing with trauma and now with more isolation. So in pretty much most of the facilities, volunteers are no longer allowed to go in. Programming has been cut, school has been cut, and families aren't allowed to visit. So you're already dealing with isolation in the first place from being removed from your community. But now on top of it, most of our kids are spending a lot of time in their cells. Staff is still there. So hopefully they have what's called leisure time activity people who are still engaging them by doing video tournaments or watching movies or something. But these kids are really beginning to start to feel it. I've gotten a few calls from some of my youth in adult facilities and what's going on there and the lockdown. They are really feeling it. So I would really encourage, there's not much that we can do. I'm blessed that I can still go into the facility. God's favor that I can go in and check on the boys, and we're still doing some of the programming. But if you can, and if you have any kids that are incarcerated, first of all, check on their families, make sure that they're doing okay with it. But the best thing you can do is write a letter, send a book, send like a puzzle book, a Sudoku, something to give the kids something to do, but also just to let them know that you're thinking about them and that they're not alone.
Very good. All right. I have another question, and it's coming from Chris Schaffner. I think this is really good. Beyond technology, how are you still meeting real felt needs of students and families during this time? Like, how are you partnering with schools or public health organizations to ensure that everyone has access to healthcare and are being able to receive food? Raise your hand if you'd like to take it. All right.
Yeah, I'll go. So I'm Naomi, and recently we just connected with Second Harvest Food Bank, who is already a partner of ours. And so in addition to what the school district is doing, we've decided as an organization to also pivot from our normal programming and do weekly like food boxes distribution for the students and families to come in. That includes our little guys, our preschoolers, all the elementary school students, all the college students that are also displaced right now. So that's been one way, just like essentials, which is food. We connected with our mobile clinics. And so the community is aware that the Chalk Clinic, the Breath Mobile, they'll all be out there as well, so that those services continue to help members that maybe can't get out to the actual doctor office. So our sites are hosting that. And then the third thing we did is recently just reach out to all of our partners. So for example, like PBS said, hey, we'd like to help you guys with your students. We're going to pack backpacks with activities for the little guys, because we realize that not all the parents have accessibility to even internet or Chromebooks. So just tangible activities for the kids to color, make slime, do some cutting activities. So we just reached out to our partners and said, we do have limited resources as far as technology. And so how can you help? And we're trying to be cautious because we understand, you know, passing out backpacks and paper is not always the safest right now, but trying to be, just kind of think and ask partners, how can we all work together? So that's just one way.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Here is another question. Since outreach is primarily virtual now, do you recommend parent engagement, calling parents, and informing them how your youth group or organization plans to stay in touch. Who wants to take that? Raise your hand. Looking, looking, looking. Nobody's jumping. I'm going to give it to Bobby then, our special guest. Bobby, you better have an answer.
We actually don't, so we don't have a lot of parents because of we have urban kids and we're an outreach without a church. So we don't have a lot of parents that are actually present that much or connected that much. But we've already discussed that we have to let them know what's kind of going on. So we're looking at putting a video, just an information video, and sending out to the ones we have and connecting with the ones we do have. Because to be honest with you, they're going to wonder, some of them, and we do this normally, so it wouldn't be for us. But with some parents, they might wonder, why are you messaging my kid? Like, or what's going on? So yeah, definitely, I definitely suggest putting out a parent video or information on that.
All right. Looks like there was a couple other people that wanted to speak into that. Can you raise your hand one more time? All right, Marcia. You'll have to unmute yourself, darling. Or I can unmute you. Just a moment. You have to unmute yourself. Well, all right. Looks like we're having trouble with an unmute for you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to another question. Looks like someone is asking, does anybody have a tutorial on how to navigate a YouTube channel? Anybody raising their hand? I see Bobby.
Detected at the front door.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
So there's a really good YouTube resource called Church Pro Tools. They will tell you everything about the algorithms, YouTube channels, TikTok channels. It's a really great resource. So we connected to that. And there's also Church Marketing University. Even if you're not a church, they're going to tell you more about building community and everything like that. So those are the two resources I would connect you to.
All right. Somebody asked, how do you grow your audience on Instagram during this time? I think that's an interesting question, because I wonder if it's that you're trying to grow your audience, or are you just taking care of the audience that's already there? Anybody want to take that? Raise your hand. I'm going to give it to Mr. Sean.
Yeah, so I think it's a both and, right? You are trying to grow your audience in the sense that you might not be digitally connected with those kids, but you might be face-to-face connected with them. And so I think it goes back to one thing that Bobby said originally. Are you asking them what they're asking for? I think one thing we often do is we program for ourselves, or we program for our leaders, and we're not programming for youth. And so one of the things we do is just always asking the youth, what do you need? What do you need in this time? What do you think your friends need? What do you think your friends will interact with? And then trying to build that around the truth of the word and what we know we're called to preach. And so I would just encourage you guys to reach out to them and ask them what they're looking for. Ask them what platforms they're on. The best way to get connected with them initially is just to text them and say, hey, what are you on, and how could we interact with you in that space? And so I think it's a both and, Sheree, in that, like, we're not trying to grow our audience in using this to become the most seen youth group. We're trying to connect with kids, and we're trying to make a difference is what we're really trying to do. But at the same time, I think, you may have students where they come week to week, but you're not digitally connected with them. And so that's a good place to start.
Okay, very good. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So if you had one, can you raise your hand and I'll go ahead and get you going. Okay. So Marcia, I really want to highlight, there we go.
Yeah, I'm back. I think we really have to keep thinking that we're getting to the parents through the kids. And a lot of these parents can look really absent, and they can look very even obstinate. I think you have to be really careful about the kids under 18 that you're connecting with. Even kids in the system, I've found that sometimes people really learn to manipulate both sides of it. We don't want to be their target, but you're praying for them, you're connecting to them in an amazing way. And maybe nobody else is. That's not my responsibility, but I just know that we are. They're listening to their kids and they're aware at some level. Maybe it's just they're seeing the changes in them that they themselves have not been able to motivate, or it's a fine line to walk. But I think we have to remember that even if some of them may look kind of like our enemies, we know that we're going to be for them. But I can't express how strong that connection is. And I think we all know that.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have a question? Go ahead and raise your hand. I'll look for your hand. All right, Mr. Carter.
Hey, can I go back to, I love what Sean said about Instagram, but just one with that question about the connection and how to build an audience. You know, just one of the things that I've seen that seems to be resonating is, and Sean said it earlier, like one of the first things he said that a mentor had spoken into him, like, you know, you can only give away what you've been given from Christ. And I think the more that we like remain and abide in Christ, and then we see like our youth or those parents on social media, and we can like give an encouraging word, or we can like ask a question, we can comment with like just some kind of something that's anthemic for us. People are going to see that. And I think all these students, their crap detectors are so high, they're going to know if you're just trying to build your platform or if you really are there to walk with them. And it's just been so moving for me, just as someone who's just kind of a little bit on the periphery, but like learning from how you all are doing it. And you guys are heroes of mine. So keep doing it, keep meeting students where they're at, keep pouring into them, and truly you're changing the world.
Yes. Amen. All right. We only have a few moments left, and I wanted to make a note that we have in the chat to your right, we have put a link to the Facebook group, and I'm going to have Sean speak to that just one more time as to why this Facebook group is so important. Sean?
Yeah, so we just want to remind you guys that, you know, there are other youth workers that are in the same reality all across the country right now. And we recognize that things are changing. Resources for a lot of churches are shifting. You know, a lot of churches and leaders weren't prepared for this reality. Most of us have been dealing with it, like Tommy said, and we've been doing a lot with a little. But we want to share best practices and resources with you. Our heart at UYWI is to resource you and equip you and really come alongside you. And so we want you to interact with that. We want you to ask questions. And really, we need the leaders of leaders to gather people and to help us see who's isolated in their community. And so whether you're, you know, Amy running Chicago, or you're Tanisha in New York, or other people that have been on this and are just doing an amazing work, we want you to really take that and be able to develop that in a regional way, because we are the first responders for the church. For a lot of you right now, you are everything in your church. You are like, you know, the audio person, the tech person, to this person, to that person. It's gotten really crazy. And so in the midst of that, we want you to be impacting youth because we're going to go back to a normal. Now, normal is not going to be the same as it was before, but we're going to move back into a space where we're gathering face to face with students. And we know we need that, but we want to utilize this time because we believe that in this crisis, the way the church responds, and specifically urban youth leaders respond, is going to make all the difference in the world to how other people perceive the church coming out of this. I mean, the future is now. When Tommy says that, that's not a tagline, that's a prophetic word. And it's the truth for where we're going. And so we want you guys to interact, share stories, connect with each other, because what we do now is going to make all the difference in the world for the future of the church.
Yeah. And so just to be super clear on what that means, guys, for urban youth workers, we would just love for you to join our network and make sure that you're connected so that we can call on you to lead, but also help you Okay, so the Facebook group is important. Practice now, implementation of best practices. Keep sharing. This is so amazing. Speak now. We need to have more conversations about the future. There's some people on this call right now that have already stepped into the future of church already. Like they already know what it looks like and they know the path. So please talk to those people. Connect. And that's the kind of stuff you can put on the Facebook group page is like, hey, I'm having trouble embracing this new reality. Can somebody help me understand what this means for the future of the church? Go ahead, speak now. Those that are leaders in this, lead now. Collaborate now, collaborate for the future. What tools are you seeing that are working and that will be the future? And then the last thing is create now. And I'll speak on that. So we're gonna keep creating content for you guys, and it's not gonna be all about the coronavirus. Here's why. It's all about the coronavirus right now, right? And there's a lot of other things going on that people are really freaked out about. We have an election season, right? How do you navigate politics right now, right? Okay, the economy is crashing. How do you navigate and keep a nonprofit going during recession? So what we're going to do, though we're going to put out content, we may pivot a little bit to address some of the surrounding things around this crisis we're in. So for instance, Monday Morning Church is happening on Monday, led by a very awesome person and teacher named Darius West. We've already pivoted to do a talk about kingdom economy, that there's an alternate economy to the global economy, to the American economy. And what are the principles that we need to be operating in that economy, right? So that's going to be a very interesting thing. Now, when we present it to you, we always want to make it something that will be challenging for you as a youth worker, but also simple enough that you can share it with your youth. So if you want to do a watch party with your youth on Monday, join us. We'll be on Instagram and YouTube as well. We're going to be putting out podcasts and things. So if you have ideas, I'm the girl that you need to tell for resources or content that you want right now as we're all stuck in the house. Our creative team is still working, so we want to be able to serve you in that way. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tommy to close us out.
Guys, again, I just hope you know how important you are to us. It's such an honor to just even to lead with you in this space. When we say, I really do believe that we are the tip of the spear, our movement, our people, your youth, the tip of the spear for the next iteration of the church. And I feel like this pandemic, although it's horrible and it's a crisis and we're having to deal with it, I really feel like this is a catalyst, and God's going to redeem all this. And you are the ones to lead it. So I want to leave you with this. And Chris Schaffner kind of brought this up, which I really appreciate. The word I have for all of you is pace. Pace yourselves. We're in for the long haul. The kingdom of God is still advancing in the midst of all this. I had a talk. I pulled my team together today, and I said, guys, let's take a big breath. It's okay. You know, I can only do what I can do, and I can do nothing apart from Him. If anything, from this call, can you just hear me say, reconnect with your rhythm with Christ, whatever that looks like. Now, my whole rhythm has gotten messed up and jacked up. I tried to work from home yesterday. That ain't going to happen. I don't know how I can do that with 5 children and a dog and 8 chickens. And it's crazy. And it messed me up. Me and my wife had to talk about it. Okay, what is a different rhythm for us? What's healthy right now? Because we need you guys on the game. Now, you're some of the most resilient leaders I know, but there's a lot of unhealth with us as leaders as well, because we're so like advance, that we get burned out and we mess up. Take care of yourself, because you got a lot of people to take care of. So although you hear me saying we got to lead and we got to charge, that's true, but you can't do that when you're running on empty. So please, brothers and sisters, allow us to support you. Allow that space to step back. Make sure you're turning off the phone and the digital, so you can get rest. And so I just want to encourage you in that, but we are calling you to lead right now, and we have ways for you to do that. Please engage with us, because we believe in what you're doing. We're for you. We're with you. We are you. And we know exactly what you're going through, because we're doing it as well. So we love you guys. If I could just pray a blessing over you guys, and then we'll end our time. Let's pray. Holy Spirit, even in that brief moment of silence, can you just give us the ability to breathe, to know that you're in control, that you're up to something, and that you're calling us into it. Urban youth workers, I bless you with creativity. I bless you with wisdom. I bless you with peace. I bless you with patience. I bless you with the power of the Holy Spirit to do what God has called you to do in the lives of these youth. Lord, help us not be overcome by grief or suffering or pain, God, or burden. You said your yoke is easy, your burden is light. Lord, we believe that, but help us in our unbelief. God, we believe that you are it, Lord, but it is hard out here. It is hard with this feeling of just weight. And so in the name of Jesus and in the power of the Holy Spirit, I just even ask for right now, would you just lift that up off all of us, God, from the top of our heads to our shoulders to the bottom of our feet, and know that your word is true and your promises are true for us, that you win, that love wins, that God, you are in control and you are sovereign. We love you, Lord. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for being on this call. Bless you guys. And we're going to keep on with you through this whole thing.
Yep. Awesome. Before you go, just if you want to stay on, I'll keep the Zoom call going for a little bit so you can go ahead and look at the chat, grab the links you need, talk to the people you need. So for the next 5 minutes, I'll just keep it open. But again, the Facebook group is where you can continue the conversation. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all your questions, but Sean Fenner is in charge of our national network. So he'll make sure that you get your stuff answered and you'll get the resources into your hands. So join that Facebook group. I'll keep it open. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. We all good, Shireen?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay. Yeah. Just wait. And just didn't know if anybody wanted to say anything. Look at all these beautiful people, man. I was using John Park's computer. He's going to have to disinfect this mug.
Ew. See, that's why I'm not in that office. You guys, I don't even know why you're in there.
Anything for our leaders. We're here for y'all. Brave Corona. I'm not afraid. But I am social distancing. I am, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you might not be afraid, but there's a thin line between faith and stupidity, my brother.
Bro, I'm living it, man. I'm trying to keep away from all these cats, but we couldn't get the computer work. I'm on it, man. So
no, I'm in my office touching everything just in case, you know.
Bye, Chris. He said Buffalo Wild Wings just showed up. Oh, man.
I'm out.
All right, cool.
Yeah. This is so interesting because with this new digital space, like everybody obviously has the same idea. So some of these platforms are crashing. Facebook was down. So just something to think about.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty crazy. So
yeah.
Way to switch it though to YouTube. So
yeah.
Well, good job, team. I know we're still live, but
oh no, I stopped. Oh, I thought I stopped. Hold up.
no, we